Hi, welcome to Teaspoon Retro. I'm your host, Teaspoon, and today I'd like to welcome you to another part of my channel. This is where I review books. Books from yesteryear, recent books, non-fiction, fiction, all genres. I love a good book. And this part of the channel is going to look at those books, whether I'd recommend them, if not, why not, and if I do, why. And this book I'll be reviewing today is Stephen King's Needful Things. Why not just climb back on your bike again, Brian? Go back home, have a glass of milk, and think this over. Yes, that seemed like a very good, very sane idea. He actually began to turn around, and then a picture came to him, one which was a great deal more powerful than the voice. He saw a long black car, a Cadillac, or maybe a Lincoln Mark IV, pulling up in front of his house. The driver's door opened and Mr. Leland Gaunt stepped out. Only Mr. Gaunt was no longer wearing a smoking jacket like the one in the Sherlock Holmes stories. The Gaunt who now strode across the landscape of Brian's imagination wore a formidable black suit, the suit of a funeral director, and his face was no longer friendly. His dark blue eyes were even darker in anger, and his lips had pulled back from his crooked teeth, but not in a smile. His long, thin legs went scissoring up the walk to the rusk front door, and the shadow man attached to his heels looked like a hangman in a horror movie. When he got to the door, he would not pause to ring the bell. Oh no, he would simply barge in. If Brian's ma tried to get in his way, he would push her aside. In 1994, I would pick up a book by an author I'd not heard of before. His name was Stephen King, and the book itself was Needful Things. Now, the book itself was written in 1991, and it was set in the small town of Castle Rock, Maine. There's quite a large cast of characters in this book, and they have this fascinating community to them. Despite being a large cast, each character feels unique and different and is extremely well characterised. Sunny day, Brian Rusk is cycling home from school. It's a boring day. He's daydreaming, thinking about a teacher he has a little crush on, Sally Radcliffe. He stops short when he sees that a new shop is opening in the town. Fascinated and curious, because the shop isn't supposed to be open yet, but the door is ajar, he walks inside and is met by the proprietor, a man called Leland Gaunt. Charming and very softly spoken, and for whatever reason, Brian feels drawn to him. Leland Gaunt explained to Brian that he sells things that people like, and he asked if there was anything that Brian wished he could have. And Brian immediately thinks his burgeoning baseball card collection. I'd really like Sandy Koufax, he says. Says Leland Gaunt. I might have that card. Bear with me. Now, Brian isn't expecting much because quite frankly, he doesn't have the money to buy such a rare card. It would be worth a lot of money. And he is surprised when Leland Gaunt reappears and, shuffling through a little box of baseball cards, he finds Sandy Koufax. And on the back, it's been signed, "To my dear friend Brian, Sandy Koufax." Now, Brian is floored by this. I mean, what an absolute find. Not only is the rare card itself in immaculate condition, it's actually signed on the back by Sandy Koufax to another Brian in another time, in another place. "Oh wow," he says. "I can't afford this though." And this is where things start to get interesting, because Leland Gaunt is a very strange man. He will sell something to you for what amounts to be a very small monetary price, certainly better than you think, but he also asks you to play a little trick on someone else within the Castle Rock community. Now, I feel what Stephen King does here is absolutely masterful. He takes this huge cast of characters. Then there's characters who can't stand each other. Wilma Jersic. So Wilma Jersic, for example, absolutely detests Nettie Cobb, who is a lady known in Castle Rock for bludgeoning her husband to death. But the husband had been cruel. Leland Gaunt asks Brian to play a little prank, and the little prank would be to sling some mud all over the sheets of Wilma Jersic. And like I say, what happens here is fascinating, because King takes these characters who detest each other, Nettie Cobb, Wilma Jersic, and pits them against each other. People tend to think that whatever's happened is happened by the hand of the person that they don't like. So Wilma Jersic jumps to the immediate conclusion that it's Nettie Cobb, nutty Nettie Cobb, Polly's housekeeper, who must have thrown the mud all over her sheets because they've got into a dispute about her little dog. In this town is Sheriff Alan Pangborn. Now, Alan Pangborn is a character who appeared in The Dark Half, another one of Stephen King's books, and he was a sort of a side character in that. An interesting man, married, with children. But the Alan Pangborn that we meet in this 1991 novel is a changed man. He is affected by the things that happened to him in The Dark Half, and he also is mourning the loss of his wife and his youngest son. The book here deals very well with the themes of depression, and he's at a very low ebb. He lives alone. His other son has gone off to do other things, and their relationship is complicated. But it is here within Castle Rock that Alan Pangborn finds he has an unexpected adversary. That adversary is Leland Gaunt, because Gaunt is a very interesting, peculiar man. He's very charming, and people often feel in his presence a sense of hypnosis almost. They're just in a dream and they can't quite remember the encounter, but it is a pleasant one, and they all think he's absolutely marvellous. And he always has that one thing that you're really looking for, that one thing that you want more than anything in the world, and he has it. Before long, most of the town has been inside Leland's little shop, and they have found the things that they desire. There's one thing that they really, really have to have. They just have to have it more than anything, and they get it. And so the pranks go on, and it's all these characters who have their various rivalries who end up pitted against each other. Now it takes a little while for the book to get going, but I feel it is honestly worth the wait. I feel it's one of King's most underappreciated works, and certainly it's the one book I would have absolutely loved to see in a sequel to, because Leland Gaunt leaves a lasting impression. And like I say, I read this book at 14. It was the first Stephen King book I bought, and from there I became a huge Stephen King fan, because Stephen King just has this ability to write the most vivid characters that really stand out from the page, that you really feel that they're living, breathing creations with hopes and fears and desires. And it's absolutely marvellous. Now, if you've not read any Stephen King before, I really feel like this book is a great starting place. After this, I would pick up Carrie, which is another fantastic novel. But this one is definitely a favourite of mine amongst all the Stephen King books that I've read over the years. I feel if it's not one of his that you've read already, you know, perhaps you're a fan of Stephen King, or perhaps you've read a number of Stephen King books and haven't come across this one, it's an excellent book to pick up. It's an excellent book to pick up whether you're starting your journey on reading Stephen King, or whether it's just one of those that you've missed along the way. It's a really, really good novel, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It certainly opened my eyes to the masterful genius that is Stephen King, and his ability to write characters, situations, and build a story that has a slow burn that builds to a final with, well, I can't and I won't spoil the ending, but needless to say, things do get very, very interesting along the way. So give it a try. And that's why I like this book by Stephen King. Needful Things. The book itself, it deals with themes of depression, loss, loneliness, and other feelings such as greed and avarice and lust and sexuality. It really does leave its mark. Now, this book is one of the first book reviews I'm going to be doing on this channel. As you know, I also cover reactions like Foodie Beauty, but it's a good time, I think, to sort of expand and start introducing the other aspects of the channel that I find interesting, which is books, TV and film. Nothing finer, I think, in that sphere of creative, cultural, lasting impact. It really isn't. Alright then guys, so that'll do it for today. Thank you ever so much for clicking on this video and giving it a quick view. Let me know if there's any other books you want me to cover. Is there a particular Stephen King book that is your favourite? Or maybe you have a horror writer that you value. Or maybe you have a horror writer who you feel is better than Stephen King. Let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys again next time. Take care everyone. Bye.
to fall.